Sitting on your support, cross your shins one in front of the other, crossing at about the middle of your shins so the foot is underneath each knee. Flex the foot, especially the pinky toe side of the foot. Press your hands into your thigh, lift your spine up. Exhale, drop the shoulders. Don't push them down, just let them drop. Instead of pushing yourself down like gravity does, can you work on all of your actions in your seated positions, lifting you up, especially where the spine is concerned? So instead of pushing your shoulders down, let them hang, lift your spine more. Take another nice deep breath. Fill the lungs as much as you can, and as you exhale, everywhere that you feel the rib cage move on the back, squeeze those ribs towards each other. On the sides, stretch them forward, and on the front ribs, lift them up. So when you breathe, you may take a few breaths to get all three sides to do it, 4 technically. When you feel the movement of the rib cage, you move that part. So the back ribs don't push your chest out. They squeeze towards each other to lift it up. Side rib stretches forward, the front lifts up. Chin lifted, eyes closed. Hands just resting on your thighs or in your lap. So glad you've all made it. Even though you may not have had to drive through rush hour traffic to get here to the yoga studio, you made it from everything else that you came through to be here today. All the trials of your day. Work, routines, the things that break up those routines. So now that you're here, just as I talked about Tuesday, and to see what you've already brought with you and what it's done to you for you. And then comes a practice of changing it to what you need. We can't get rid of what we've gone through. It's our life. Not just written in the history of our memories, but written in our physical bodies. As we go through the practice, my friends, let it not be about trying to erase, remove, destroy, push, punish. Let it be about creating something new from something you already have. Just as the old story of alchemy was turning lead into gold, we do so with the same relationships with ourselves, our world, our experiences, using that process that is yoga, fueled by the infinite power of ourselves, our spirit, our physical ability, whatever it is, your determination, your discipline. So even though in certain times we may not be exactly where we want to be or go through what we want to go through, what we ultimately learn to do is to not deny ourselves that we've lived, but to live to our fullest in our experience, to our wisdom ultimately to bettering things around us. Bring the palms together at the chest, thumbs touching the sternum. Head stays lifted, eyes stay closed. Take a breath in, roll them shortly 3 times. Om. Flex your feet. Om. Back ribs in, side rib forward, front rib up. Om. Bow your head for a moment. Sleep the essence of yoga inside yourself. Bring your hands into your lap. Let your head rise and your eyes open. All right. So nice to see everyone, especially the people that sneaking in. So cool. All right. Come into a standing position. Do a few poses to warm up the body. Get some heat. Bring some sensation. Right. Instead of being numb or only being aware of the parts that hurt, let us have sensation across the whole body so we have a bigger, more accurate map. One achy muscle or two achy parts, even though it screams the loudest, is not everything. Even though the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you have three other wheels to go, maybe four, I don't know. Thighs together, feet together, Tadasana, please. Bring some sensation or activity here. Now, even though this is a pose that we can put a lot of effort into, but all of your work be about bringing sensation to the body. And sensation, as I brought up Tuesday, is not about intensity or level of stretch. Sensation can be something as soft as just feeling the fabric across your skin, or it can be deeper as in, you feel the muscles activate. And eventually, as Mr. Iyengar would say, you feel the space between the muscle and bone, and then you feel the space between the skin and muscle. Sensation is not just about the stretch of the hamstring, but about our focus in those spaces that are all us. So once we learn the spaces that make up us and see what's there, we ultimately have a little more wisdom about the ones in the world. Take a nice deep breath in, stretch both arms up, interlace your fingers, and turn your palms to the ceiling into Baddha Kolasana. Stretch up, squeeze the elbows towards the head. Lift through the side body. Just as we've been doing in our past few weeks of classes, as we continue to prepare and engage our body for seated poses, we're still not done yet. We have a little bit more on that to go. There's a few more poses I want us to get technique on before we move on to other things. Push your feet into the floor. Now that doesn't mean you push all of your upper body weight down into the feet, but can you activate the legs so you feel the foot connect across it, and then use the sensation of that to try and find some equanimity between the front and back and inner and outer foot. And then how, through pushing through your feet, does that change everything else? That bringing your awareness to the balance of your feet, how does it change up the length of your leg? Can you now have some awareness or engage your legs so they have sensation across your back, your chest, abdomen, arms, and up? Take a few breaths, hold the pose. Notice the sway in your body. Even your body sways a little bit left, right, front, back. It does kind of some circle thing. What's adjusting and moving with each little shift? Turn the palms down. Change the lacing of the fingers so the fingers are laced in the alternate manner. Again, if that means if one finger is stacked on the other, you change that lacing so there's the alternate. Instead of right fingers on top of left, it'll be left on right, or vice versa. Turn your palms out, stretch your arms up. Keep lifting. And again, just as you change the lacing of your fingers to have different sensation or different awareness, to bring sensation to that part of the body, does that change down through the feet? Your feet on your right toes are turned out more than your left. Suck your left heel in. There you go. Keep lifting, pushing through the feet to extend up through the body, taking a deep breath as you go. just even here, oh, excuse me, just even here, take the deeper breath in and feel how that stretch of the lung across the rib, the skin, the muscle, creates a different awareness of the space inside your rib cage and not just on the parts on the outside, the joints or the tighter muscles that are working. Unlace your fingers, bring your palms together flat above your head, pressing your palms tight together. Squeeze the elbows towards the head. Your arms are getting tired, great, I'm happy for you. When you squeeze the palms tight together, become aware, especially on this one, if your back body starts pushing really hard towards your front body to try and help keep the arms engaged, so that one side is overcompensating for the other. It removes the sensation of the front side of the body because it takes all of it. So draw your front bottom ribs towards the back, lift your back bottom ribs up. So your shoulder does lift towards the sky, does not squeeze towards your neck, but lifts towards the sky. You press those palms in tight, tight as you can. If you've been in classes with me before, you know, I'd come by and try to slide my hand between yours, right? So don't imagine that I would do the same. Try to pick up your right knee in front of you, knee the height of your hip. So you start working your balance in your legs. And again, push down through the left foot, still working the action of the leg, your awareness and the sensation of the foot. Take your right foot back behind you, bring your thighs together, knees together. Arms are still up in the air, palms are still pushing together unless you need to bring an arm down for balance. Okay. And then under the strength of your own right leg, pull your right heel close to you can. No, listen. Keep your knees touching and pull your right heel as close to as you can to your right buttock. So you feel your right hamstring awake. Fine, chill. Take your right leg out. Take the right ankle across the left thigh and stretch the right knee to the right. So you work that variation to tree pose for a moment. Still working through that left leg. What changed in your hips? Did one hip start to take all the work versus the other? Suck your left hip to the right. That way. Bring your right leg down. Stretch your arms back up. Push your palms tight together. Straighten your elbows as best you can. Pick your left knee up in front of you. Lift up against gravity by pushing through the root of your pose, pushing through the feet so the activeness of your legs becomes a strong foundation for the rest of your spine to lift up off of. With your elbows in. Take your left foot back behind you, squeeze your thighs together, knees together. Pull your left heel towards your hip. Take your left leg out in front of you and take the left ankle across the right thigh, opening the left knee out to the left, and try not to allow the rest of your body to overcompensate just for the movement of that leg. Part of bringing sensation to a part is to not let all the other parts do the work. You have to feel if that left hip is tight or achy or hurt. or out of balance. It doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. It just means there's things there to do. Bring your leg down, arms down. Stand nice and wide on your yoga mat. If you use support for triangle poses, now's the time to get it. Turn your right toes out. Stretch both arms out wide. When you stretch both arms out wide, both legs straight, push down through each foot. Be active in the pose even before you are into the quote unquote end shape of the pose. Sensation is, and learning about those spaces in between is not just get into it and then like, what happened to me? That's how we go blindly through our day. Right? How did I end up in this situation? I wasn't paying attention. Not being aware of what's happening to you as you go through things. One of the great chitti vrittis, I'll remember here in a minute. Stretch out over the right leg as far as you can reach, pushing down through each foot. Engage the legs into their respective rotation. So your left knee points towards or the same direction as your left toes. The right knee points the same direction as the right toes. And then stretch your ribs out with it. Take your right hand to the floor on the outside of the foot or to your block or to your chair, whatever prop you're using. Take your left arm straight up. Just work here in Utthita Trikonasana for a moment. And now that you're in the pose, how much, quote unquote, in the pose, you're more towards the classical form of it. How much of your body do you feel that you now weren't paying as much attention to when you were fully standing? What's the difference that this pose offers you an insight of yourself that Tadasana did not? What's the similarities of awareness that this pose offers you that Tadasana did? The reason that Mr. Angar, I think, was very interested in sequence was not just the physical effects on the body, but the effect of awareness and how it teaches us what's going on in our body. If you've been here for the last few weeks, we've done a lot of warrior two, side angle, triangle to revolves and stuff like that to really lubricate, move the hip. So this one's different. What's your awareness now that I've changed up the routine slightly? What your body feels. Push down through the right foot, stretch the right hip towards the left hip. Push down through the left foot, roll the left hip back, roll the left ribs back. So that everything you're working on in the lower part of the body, the legs, the feet, lets the upper torso lift and extend. The rotation happens so you're in this full openness of the body. But you're not trying to push your spine or your arms without your legs leading the movement. So when you do your seated poses, we work towards Padmasana and other things. If you do just try to push your spine into it or your knee joints into it, it hurts something. Take a nice breath in. Keep your right leg straight, left leg straight. Pick yourself up from the left arm, pulling you up. Switch your side. Turn your right toes in, your left toes out. Try to keep your arms up when you do this. Don't give up. Yeah, I see all the arms come floating down. Stay aware. Stay awake for a moment. Stay in the sensation of the activeness of your arms. Turn your left toes out. Reach out over the left side of your body. With your left side of your body. Push through the legs. Activate your legs to be active to create the extension of your spine. And as you reach out farther with the left side of the body, take the left hand down to the block. Take the right arm straight up. And then notice when your left hand hits block, how much stuff wants to become inactive. Reactivate the legs. Make sure the knees are pointing the directions the toes are supposed to. So your right knee points the same direction as the right toes. Tristan has to turn her right thigh out more. Yeah. Your center of your kneecap's not pointing the direction your toes are. So I have you look. And then once you've got your legs active, unlock your knee. Rotate your ribs. start to breathe. Start to work inside your body, feel it. Create that full extension. Look up if you looked up on the other side. Because even if you know it's going to be achy or challenging, you still have to experiment with how to move and hold your body, or maybe work something lower in the body to create that rebalancing so your neck can move. Take a breath. Bring your body up. Turn your left toes in, turn your right toes out. Try to keep your arms up. Stay in it. Uttahita Trikonasana again. Reach out over the right side of your body with the upper body. Extend. Take your right arm over. Take your ribs over. And now pause halfway down. Work your legs more. Get out of your locked knees. Push your feet into the floor so your thighs are strong. Shift your hips as much as you can so the right hip pulls to the left, and now stretch your right and left ribs, not your shoulders. Take your right hand to the blocker floor on the outside of the foot. Take your left arm straight up. So back in Uttahita on this side, what's the difference this side from the last one? What's the similarities this side to the last? I like to say that the first time you do a pose, you learn it. The second time you feel it. The third time you really do it. And I still think that's true 20 years later, even poses I've done hundreds of times. Because I'm not the same person that I was last time I did this pose. Each breath, at the end of a moment, I've changed, my body has changed, my wisdom, intellect, and physical body is different. And it's true for all of us. So give yourself the space to go, what is different or new in this for me? And how can I create different than where I am now inside this? Take a few nice deep breaths. Bend your right knee deep. Keep your hand on the block. So you're moving to side angle. Take your left hand down. Move your block out in front of your right foot about 12 inches. Take both hands onto your block or both hands onto the floor. Pick your left leg, lean your weight into the right foot in both hands. Pick your left leg up into the air. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. When you pick your left leg up, make sure your left toes are still pointed out to the side. And then rotate your left ribs up. Take your left arm back up as you can. Challenge that. So even though it's the same shape as triangle, it really is. The only difference is gravity. Even if you're up for a few seconds, get that arm up into the air. There you go, Shubha. Nice. See what's different now. If you fall out, see what your reaction or feeling is. And when you go back to it, reconnect, not to all the extended limb, but through the limbs, push through the ground first and then build up. I have a lot of feelings about this pose because my balance in it is not what it once was. So I want to beat myself up for not being what I once was. That does not help anything. So with each deep breath in, slow breath out. Take what you got out to Tadasana and encourage it here. Take the sensation and awareness from triangle and encourage it here. Let each pose help guide you in you. Let it, your teacher guide you in your poses. That's the chain. Go back to a triangle. So bend your right knee slightly. Take your left foot down 3.5 to 4 foot away from your right foot. Straighten your right leg, bring your body up. Turn your right toes in and your left toes out. Keep your arms out if you can. So eager to bring the arms down, everybody. I see. Oh, God. My legs are quitting, so my arms are. No. I said no. No part of you quits. Left toes turned out. I see someone trying to skip the standing part of class. Coming in late. Not you. It's not all about you. Reach out over the left side of the body with your left ribs. Stretch out over the left leg. Warrior two, left side. Work your feet, work your legs. Create the extension. We've talked about this over the weeks, months. Left hand goes to the block, whatever height the other side was, or higher if it needs to be. Pick your right arm up. So here's an example while you're in triangle pose, feeling out the body. If you push one side lower than the other, you're creating imbalance in the body. We've done each side twice. First time, yeah, you're going to note that you're going to learn the imbalance, right? First time you do a pose, you learn. Second time you do a pose, you now have the responsibility of learning, of being learned, to act upon it and feel it. Feel the difference when you work each side equally. So if your block was lower than this side on the other side, why didn't you build the other side up? Interesting.
I did.
And then the third time you really get to do it, where you work imbalance. Bend your left knee, bring your right arm down, slide your block about 12 inches out in front of your foot. Take both hands to the block for some balance. Lean your body weight into the hands and into the left foot, shortening your stance a little bit. Exhale, pick your right leg up into the air, Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. And then while you're in a different pose, go take your awareness back to the stability of Tadasana in your foot and in your legs. What did Tadasana help you create or teach you or make you aware of in your body that you need to focus on to create this pose? To create something in yourself. Don't try to force this pose before you create the Tadasana in your body. Don't try to force everything you think about this pose until you're really in the triangle of your body. And then once you're in those two, then take your right arm up, then roll your right ribs up, and then move to those next stages of your body. And then feel the differences there. But this is why I talk about the history of us gives us the experience we need, the wisdom we need to create something new. If you forgot about Tadasana and triangle and everything it offered, you will never find the thing you need in side angle, half moon, or any of that other stuff. And then if we do the reverse, if we did this first and then triangle and then Tadasana, same thing. Whatever you do before teaches you about things that will apply after. Try to take your right arm up as best you can. Challenge yourself a little bit. You're going to do it again, so you stretch into it. Bend your left knee. Take your right foot down. Bring your body up. Turn your right toes out, left toes in, arms wide. Reach out over the right side of the body as far as you can into triangle. Uttahita Trikonasana. Take the right hand to the block, left arm up. Do both at the same time. Move in synchronicity with your body. Both legs have to be active at the same time. Make both arms active at the same time. Make both sides of your body active at the same time. Spread your awareness out across all parts of your body at once. Try to teach them to work in sync. Bend your right knee. Move the block out in front of your foot. Up you go, half moon. Get your left leg up into the air. Then when your left leg's in the air, work your right leg, continue to work your right leg, and then roll the left side up, right side under. Stretch that left arm up. We'll be here for a moment. We're going to add a pose to it. Don't worry. Try to work both arms at the same time. So even if your arm is not straight to the air, extend, stretch the shoulders away from each other. Start to teach your upper back what it's going to be. Right? Just because you don't know how to run right out the gate in your life doesn't mean you don't practice crawling, walking, and then running. You do something to give yourself what you need to get to what you want. Take your left hand down to the block. Keep your right leg in the air. Turn your right toes to point straight down now, rolling your right hip to the level of your left hip. Bit of a Drasana 3. Keep that left leg up in the air. Pick your left heel up higher than your hip. Everybody. And now keep that left heel higher than your hip and lower your left hip a little bit by rolling the outer hip down. That means the knee does not descend, but the quad works harder. Look out away from your chest, looking away from the floor. So you're looking out towards the wall, the world in front of you. Notice how your leg goes down when that happens. Stretch your foot away from your face away from your foot. There you go, Laura. There you go. Come on, Shuba, get that leg up there. Work those hammies. Very nice. And the right leg screams. Push through the earth so that there's some lift. Take a deep belly breath. Pull the abdomen. Spread the back ribs. Take your right hand to your right hip. Pull your face away from your foot away from your face, looking out. Don't just look down, look outward. Challenge yourself a bit. Switch hands, right hand on the block, left hand on the hip. Don't roll your left hip up, keep your left hip down. Bring your left foot down, 3.5 to 4 feet away from your right foot. Spin your left heel in so your toes point out. Bring your body up. Turn your right toes in. Stretch your arms wide back to where we started. We were at the beginning. Turn your left toes out. Stretch out over the left side of the body, Utthita Trikonasana. Take your left hand to the block. Move the right and left arm in synchronicity. Move the left and right side of your body in synchronicity. And even though they're stretching differently, are you aware of them both being active at the same time, just as you're aware of both legs being active at the same time? Bend your left knee. Move the block out 12 inches in front of your foot. Up you go, side angle, or half moon. Right foot up into the air, the height of your hip. Work through the legs first. Stretch your leg away from your hip on both legs. The right foot presses into the left foot presses into the floor. Just stretch away from the hip so the hamstring engages. Unlock your knee. The right leg stretches away from the body. The core body stretches away from the right leg. Make space so you can feel what's inside there. It may be a stretch at start, but one day it will be nothing because the muscle will be stretched and healthy and strong and all those other things. So you've got to keep your awareness in there instead. Work your right arm up as best you can. Challenge your body. Your left arm's working hard. Your right arm should be in some way working. Even if your hand stays on your hip or on a piece of support, still work the shoulders wide. You work the chest open. Get that leg up there, Mashuba. Even if you have to put it on the wall or something. Use support to help you get there, my friend. Take your right hand down to the block or your chair or whatever you're using. Roll your right hip down. Now lift your right foot higher than your right hip. Everyone, pick that leg way up. Exaggerate the action. And now keep that exaggerated leg. Now roll your right hip down lower. I promise you, if you exaggerate the lift of the leg and then roll your right hip down, you will find balance. Take a breath, pull the front body to the back body so you feel the back ribs widen, not in your shoulder and neck, but in your front abdominals, picking up your low back. And then put your left hand on your left hip. Stretch your right foot away from your face, stretch your face away from your right foot. Switch hands, left hand on the block, right hand on your right hip. And you're going to be so happy when we do seated poses here in a little bit. Take your right foot down about 3.5 to 4 foot away from your left foot so you can bring the butt, spin the right heel in, pick the body up, turn your left toes forward. Turn both sets of toes in, take both hands onto the floor for a moment, standing straddle stretch. Taking both hands onto the floor, both legs nice and long. Look at your feet, use your eyes to visually kind of check in. Do they look, are they both active in the same way, or is one set of toes higher? Is one ankle collapsed in? Rework the balance as you know inside your body. And as always, just as I talked about yesterday or Tuesday, inside your pose, make this pose a little bit of what you want. I know what I'm offering, but it may not be what you need. So take a moment and find the joy in your pose, or the renewal in your pose, or the discipline in your pose. Whatever you need, make it here. Make it in every pose, but just as a reminder, make it here for you. Nice long legs, extended spine. Nice deep breath. And explore the space that's in you. Deep breath in. Slow breath out. So you just use the forward fold to start to cool from that very challenging prep series. Walk your hands back in line with your feet, so the heel of your hands in line with your foot. Even check your shoulders. One shoulder might be higher than the other. Is each side of your body active here? And now think about all the sides of you. Is the front side of your body as active as the back side? Is your right and left side of your ribs as active as the other? Is each arm as active? Is each finger as active on each hand? Bringing all of yourself, all of your own body and your awareness into this. Whether you like what you find or not, is incredibly important. So that you continue to create an intellectual understanding so that you can make clear choices for yourselves. Not just in your yoga poses, in your daily life. As you're aware of all the spaces that are you. Bring your body up. Bring your feet back together. Tadasana for a moment. Feet together, heels touching. Try not to dance around. Try not to get off your mat. And just Tadasana. just where you started. And after all that, be aware of what's going on inside your body. And all that what you just created in that series that we did to warm your body up. Feel the warmth of your body. Feel how that warmth has changed things that you might have started class with. And did you make what you wanted in it, or did you just throw yourself through it and hope that at the end it was going to be kind to you? Or were you kind to yourself in those poses? That's your question. That's the question I offer, is that did you just totally throw hope to the poses? And even if something came out of all that that you weren't aware, that you didn't know was going to happen, and you own it in this Tadasana, let yourself be stable like the pose, Tadasana or mountain pose is. Be stable in looking at it, feeling it, being challenged by it, or encouraged by it, or have joy in it. Stability doesn't mean unfeeling. Whatever you created in your yoga practice there, your discipline, your strength, take a breath or two inside this Tadasana and let that be your stability. Let that be your bedrock. All right. Grab a bolster, blanket, or block. Come down to the floor. Have a seat on your bolster, blanket, or block. All right. Stretch both legs wide into Uttanasana Konasana, seated straddle stretch. So when you stretch your legs out wide, when you're Uttanasana, move the camera down so not as only is Tristan in shot, the corgi is. I know it's the most important thing. So what most of you are here for is the dog at this point. That's a very good boy. Flex the toes. Dorsal flex the foot. Stretch, push down through the foot. Push down through whatever flesh is touching the earth. And the bolster count, or your blocker, the support under your hips, count as the earth. Can you just, without using your arms, just work your legs for a moment? Push your heel down, because I know your heels are touching the floor. Maybe your calf might touch the floor. But I know your knee isn't touching the floor if you're sitting on an elevation. So where are you pushing your knee down? And even if you're not sitting on elevation, for some reason, why would you push your knee down? Because the knee is an arch. The round shape of the knee creates a curve. Push your hips down into the bolster, because I know, or your blankets or blocks. That's your support, because I know you're seated there. So that no matter what we do with your spine or your body after this, you're going to come from a stable base so you can really feel what's going on. Let's have a twist for a moment. Take your right hand towards your outer left thigh. Grab a hold of it. Stretch your left arm straight up. Lift the left side of your body and right side of your body. Work each part in tandem. Each part in some level of synchronicity to stretch your awareness to what happens to when both move. Pull with your right arm. Rotate your ribs to the left, any degree. And just as your left leg has to work a little harder because it's being pulled on, work your right leg equal. Because it wants to come off the bolster, right? It wants to come off your support. Reground yourself. Mr. Angar used to say, we're the only thing that walks around with our head in the clouds while on the earth. Every time you do a yoga pose, it's so uplifting, right? You start to feel better. You start to lose your grounded connection. Reground so that that uplifting is you living in both worlds. So as your spine twists and lifts, your hip stays pinned down instead of your hip floating off. You don't become a basket case. Stretch your left arm back behind you, the height of your shoulder, the hand the height of your shoulder, and stretch. Bring your lower right abdominal wall. Take a breath up through the diaphragm as you exhale through that left shoulder out through the hand. So from the front of your right hip up through the abdominal wall, up through the right chest, or left chest, out through the hand, from the bottom right of your torso through the upper left. And then go to your back, left lower back. Take a breath and stretch from your left lower back to your upper right shoulder blade, up through the outer right arm, even though the right arm's pulling. So each arm is active, even though the right hand is in a different shape than the left. That is how you create awareness in asymmetrical poses. Symmetry, perfect symmetry is impossible. Awareness of our symmetries, asymmetry and alignment is important. So even though the arms are different positions, are both arms active from the support of the base of the body up through each side. Untwist. Take your left hand across to the right side, right thigh. Stretch your right arm straight up so there's some activity in that right arm. Lift both sides. Already notice how you're not pushing down through all of the pelvis, touching the bolster. You might be leaning forward into your gut. Don't do that. We've talked about that in the last few weeks in full lotus. Push through the parts that are touching the earth. Get your stability. Be aware of how you lose your stability the minute you go to the next thing. Don't let what you're doing in the last poses totally be gone. Pull with that left arm, twist to your right. Stretch your right arm out behind you, right hand the height of your shoulder. From your lower left abdominal wall, lower left hip, take a deep breath. And as you exhale, stretch from that lower left hip abdominal wall up through the chest to the right chest muscle through the right arm. Not to pull the arm back, but to stretch the arm out. Then from your left or your right lower back, take that deep breath. Push down through what's already touching the earth and stretch from that right lower back all the way up through the left arm and shoulder. And breathe. Create the rotation and sync up your body. And then use your time in the pose to check your feet, check your legs. Check on you. And just as I said, what are you making here? The pose is offering you new things about yourself. The teacher might have a plan. FYI, most teachers don't, trust me. They say they do. No plan. There's an old saying in war, no plan survives meeting the enemy. The enemy is the problems in our body. So create something here in yourself. What's happening inside your body and what can you create inside yourself with each deep breath from what you're discovering. Oh, my hip's tight. All right, I've got joy because I've got, as a friend of mine would say, I have so much room for growth. I'm cranky. Well, now that I know that I'm cranky, how do I go from cranky to whatever I want? Or maybe you want to be cranky and you can be happy that you're cranky. All right, untwist. Bend both knees so both feet are flat onto the floor. Point the toes straight in front of you. So as Tristan's already doing, she's going to push her feet down into the floor, especially the big toe joint. Push her hips down into the floor. Take both arms to the inside of the leg. Walk her hands out as far as she can comfortably. Right into the dog. So if you have a pet nearby, this is a good pet time. Ooh, very nice. So Rebecca, turn your toes to point forward a little bit, dear. So they're turned out, turn them in. Yeah, get those arches to really work. Yeah, it's nice. Take your feet a little wider, Micah. Good. Now everybody press your foot and your hips harder into the bolster and then stretch from your lateral walls out. Is each leg active equally? And here, what comes up for you, discover what's in the space of you, and then is that what you want? And if it's not, what can you do in this moment to change it? Can you own the power that your awareness gives you to make something different? And it may not happen immediately. Different things take practice. Pretty sure Merlin the Wizard didn't get to be Merlin the Wizard the day he was born, probably messed himself up along the way. The magic of changing ourselves takes some time. But the hardest thing for me to believe when I first started was I was worth it. I believe in each and every one of you that you're worth it. That's why I'm here. That's what I, as the teacher, offers. That's my plan. And we get through the poses is the optional fun. Yeah. If you want more, take your hands under your calves and grab the outer heel of each foot and bend your elbows out and squeeze your thighs into your arms so your chest pulls down. Woo. Now that's if you want more. I didn't say you had to take it, but you can have it. Rotate those thighs in, Miss Rebecca, and walk your feet a little closer, dear. You are practiced, you can go look. Yeah, there's going to be some fun awareness in there for you. Yeah, I saw that look. That's fine. Breathe. Very nice, Shuba. Rotate your left thigh in just as hard as your right, dear, and walk your right foot closer to your left. Your right foot's farther away from your body than your right foot. Yeah, keep walking it in. I'll tell you when. Keep going. There you go. Yeah, now you're more even. I won't feel it, but I can see it from here. Very nice, Chaya. Now bend your elbows, dear. Use that strength. Don't worry about pulling your chest to your belly. Pull your chest away from your belly so your whole front body starts to extend. Your pelvis has to move. Push your feet into the floor. Push your hips into the bolster. A few more seconds. Take a nice deep breath in. Slowly bring your body up. Stretch both legs straight out in front of you. Bend your right leg under its own strength without using your hand to pull it in. Bend it on its own strength. Pull it close to your body. Put your right foot to the outside of your left thigh. Without twisting your ribs, take your left hand to the outside of the knee and pull that knee across, or right hand, yeah, right side, right knee towards your left armpit. Just pull it in. Don't wrap your chest, don't wrap your arm around the leg. This isn't about twisting your upper body. This is about literally keeping your upper body towards Dandasana and teaching that hip to do its movement. That knee has to learn to pull across. Because I have found overworking just the twist of the upper body will often leave the hip unmoved. When you pull that knee across towards the left side, towards that left armpit, once that's really across, I'd like to say once your right knee is past the middle of your body, then we can work on the upper body. But you really got to like ratchet that thing over. So yeah, Tristan asked a question. So the right hip, she asked, should this hip still be stretching for the floor? Of course it should. It's still touching the earth. It's still the root of your pose. You should still be pressing through that root, even though you're pulling that across. That's two parts moving away from each other. That's your hip bone pulling down. That's your femur bone pulling across. That's going to create the stretch. Keep going. Take a breath. Let the hands off of it. Stretch the right leg out. Bend the left knee. Left foot on the outside of the right thigh. Push the right foot into the floor, push the whatever's touching the ground, the earth, correct, connect it, and then pull that left knee across. It's not about the twist, it's just about you maneuvering the thigh and leg, getting deep into that hip, the connection of the hip to the low back, the inner groin, all that stuff. You want to get some of those really fun seated poses, like, you know, your foot's behind your head and all of that jazz. This is the work that gets you there, not just pulling it up all the time. You have to have that stability and that range of motion of that thigh movement. Try not to twist. A few deep breaths. Take the leg out. Bend your right knee again. All right, last one. Reach down with both hands, grab your right foot, and pick the foot up in front of you. Push your hips down into the bolster, down into the ground. Push your left foot, and whatever of your left leg is touching the floor, harder into the floor. That does not mean push the floating knee down, but push the calf down, the heel down, all of that. Now, instead of straightening the leg up, I want you to pick your right elbow up, and I want you to pull your right knee back, like you're trying to pull your right foot towards your right armpit. And then push your hips harder into the floor. The more you pull that right knee back, any degree, past the armpit, right, towards the backside of your body, and then push your hips down, you're going to work deeper inside that hip connection. Try, under the strength of your own leg, to pull that right knee towards the right armpit. Don't let it kind of fall out. But flex that right thigh, that right hip, and pull that knee into the armpit so it gives itself a little crampy. And pull back. But work your hips harder into the bolster and your foot more into the floor. And you'll get more work deep inside that hip joint. And then lean forward slightly. Very nice, very good. And breathe. So no, we're not doing Padmasana today. If you want to do it, go watch Tuesday's class on YouTube. Practice along again. Tuesday we'll keep working on it, but this is where there's a big myriad of seated poses to explore. And in exploring that, we learn about ourselves, right? All right, switch legs. Push that right leg out. Push the hips down. Pick your left leg up on its strength. Pull the foot in close. Grab the foot. Pick the foot up in front of you. Pick your left elbow up. And then pull that knee back. Use the strength of that leg to suck the left knee towards the armpit. And then pause. Push your hips down harder into the floor. Push your right heel harder into the floor. And lean forward just a hair. What's that? No, you're fine. Work your legs more. Work your hips more. And just breathe. Don't worry about the whole, like, you know, we've been in class, we pulled the shin to the chest bone. Don't worry about that. This is about that motion, that inside that hinge of the hip. All right, let the leg go. Lay on your back. Support your body in any which way you like for Savasana. So if you have 3 minutes and you take 2 minutes to get ready, you're going to have a minute to enjoy it. So whatever you do, make sure it's only there to give you the best Savasana you can get. Be concise, be clear with your time. One of my teachers would say, there's chronos, the awareness of time, being sharp with it, being responsible with it. There's kairos, the awareness of spirit and awareness of need. That time does not measure. You have to be aware of both. What's your needs? What's the spirit's want? But how much time do you have? So let your eyes close, my friends. The deep breath in, the slow breath out. Each inhale, exhale, allowing you time to connect to what's happened to you in your practice. Reflect upon the change, what you've learned, what you'll carry out of this into tomorrow. And all with the eye of the observer, not with the controller. You cannot control it all the time. But allow yourself, the deep inhale, exhale, to become aware of it. Deep breath in, slow breath out. But even though you guided, you worked at the end, we just have to be the observer to see how the great experiment of our life turned out. Just a practice of that in this moment. Creating and then admiring. And rest for the next few minutes and enjoy the fruits of your yogic practice. What's that you say? Take a nice deep breath in. Begin to awaken the body, opening, closing the hands, pointing and flexing the feet. Roll your body to the right, and slowly up you come. Until we meet again, namaste. Thanks, Ayn. All right.